Hey everyone, Rob from Southgate Media Group here. Before we get started with this podcast, we have a quick message. If this is your first time checking out the show, we love that you found us and we really hope you enjoy it. What we have to say is for the subscribers. If you enjoy our shows, would you please donate to help keep these going? We don't want to have to put traditional ads on these shows, but this does cost money. So we really do rely heavily on donations. To make a donation to the show, please go to our website, www.southgatemediagroup.com. Go to the page for the show, and in the upper right-hand corner is a donate button. It takes you right to PayPal, and you can donate whatever amount you want. Thanks a lot for listening, everybody. And now, on with the show.
Everybody, welcome back to another episode of Biters, the podcast about the podcast.
Had to trip them up.
Wasn't expecting that one.
No,
the podcast about AMC's The Walking Dead and all things zombie. I am one of your hosts, Jeff Marsick, and with me is Kirk Manley, sound effects guru.
That's me. Good to be a guru of something. Finally.
All right, so this was, we're talking about this week's episode 12 of Season 5 called Remember.
All right, before we get into that, did you see the Avengers trailer?
I did. We're talking about the new Avengers trailer that came
out today, the third one.
Yes.
Did you wet your pants like I did, or am I just an overexuberant geek nerd?
Well, you're older and more incontinent, so that would be why.
Oh, jeez.
But no, it was, holy cow, it was unbelievable.
God.
I especially like, and I guess it's a trailer, so I'm not giving a spoiler away, but I will just say this. People who are Marvel fans, when you watch a trailer, sit through the ending, that last little, where it's like the Avengers. Sit through that, because what comes up after that, I think I was geeked out more about that than I was.
They've done such a great job of teasing and holding back on the Vision. It's amazing.
Yeah.
You know, it's so smart and so cool. At first I was worried, well, maybe he's not going to be in it that much, but I don't think that's the case at all. I think he's going to be in it a lot, but I think they are just keeping it really, really close to the, keeping the cards close to the chest. I think it's awesome.
Well, it's funny because I was watching Captain America: The Winter Soldier the other day, and it's, the first time I saw it, I was very impressed that it was a movie that could very well have been cheesy and just stupid action, and I thought it was, I actually liked that one better than I liked the Avengers. Actually, of all the Marvel movies, I think Winter Soldier is my favorite one. And
yeah, they went out and remade 3 Days of the Condor.
But
it's a superhero movie.
Yeah, but the thing is that Chris Evans as Captain America is
he's perfect.
He's just awesome, and all the performances were, just firing on all cylinders there. So in the trailer, there's Kirk and I were talking before the podcast. We were talking about Iron Man has a special Hulkbuster armor, which you can imagine is this armor that is a little bit bigger than the Hulk himself and is designed to take all the pounding that Hulk can dish out. Well, Hot Toys, right?
Yeah.
Hot Toys, who makes just incredible action figures. They're not dolls; they're action figures. They have a
adult dolls. Wait a minute, that didn't sound right.
No,
that didn't sound right. Rewind that.
No, they have an Iron Man Hulkbuster armor figure. It's 1/6 scale, so it has to be, we were trying to figure this out, it's got to be probably 15 inches tall, 16 inches tall. It weighs 21 pounds. This thing is massive. The price tag is also massive. It's like over $800, but it's so friggin' cool that I wish I was a millionaire.
Plus, you're if you have the Iron Man figure, the sideshow. It's not sideshow. It's Hot Toys. The sideshow sells them Iron Man, which I have one from. I think it's the second movie's version. He would fit inside of this thing, so it's just. I mean, it's just massive. It is. It's wild. But the trailer was just like Joss Whedon does villains better than anybody else in the world, man. I just think when that Ultron says, he looks at I was created to protect the world or something like that, or save the world.
Yeah.
And then I was protect people, and then they would look up and see hope. And then there's this long pause, and he goes, and that's the first thing I'm going to take away from him.
Well, and you got to give credit to James Spader too, who's the voice of Ultron.
The voice is awesome.
Who's just
perfect.
Just drips with menace. So.
And in the first movie, there was this unbelievable scene that was right out of the comic books, where Joss Whedon does this thing in a lot of his shows where he does a constant pan around a group of characters, but he did it in such a way, if you remember, when the Avengers really come together in the street fight in New York for the first time as a team, and they're in like a circle, and of course, it's a little funny because everyone's pulling up their big weapon, and then Black Widow pulls up her pistol. But yeah, that was a little weak, but it really felt like it came right out of the comics,
Right.
And it was a quintessential scene. It's been reproduced and splashed all over the place for ever since the movie came out. And I had to believe that he was like, okay, I got to do that again in this movie, but it's got to be even better, it's got to be even bigger. And there's a scene, I've been retweeting it and posting it. I just can't get enough of it. There's a gif of it now that's going around, or a gif of it. I could sit and watch it for like all day, and it's just a sequence where they're charging into some battle, and Cap's on his motorcycle, the Hulk's coming in, Iron Man's flying, and all the rest of them are in some sort of Jeep that sideswipes something, and they come flying out. And I mean, it literally looks like a John Buscema Avengers cover action scene that I've just never ever would have thought could have been done or reproduced effectively in a movie. So
yeah,
it just blew me away.
Yeah, that movie's gonna do well.
Can't wait.
But people are listening not to hear us yap about the Avengers. They're here to listen to us talk about The Walking Dead. So first up, let me talk about the numbers this week. So last week we had the 13.4 million viewers total. This week we had about a million more, 14.43 million.
Wait a minute. We had?
Yes, we did. Yes. Yes.
Awesome. Woo!
The Walking Dead did it. Yes. That would be nice. This week there was 13.4 million. Through the 4 weeks on this back half, The Walking Dead is ahead of last year's pace by 2%. In both total viewers and average total viewers and in the 18 to 49 demographic. Now, this I thought was interesting. If this keeps up, if the ratings kind of keep increasing going into, we've got 4 episodes left in the before the end of March, it will have drawn an higher ratings average with every half season since it debuted. So every half season, the average number of views goes up, which is just absolutely unheard of, especially 5 seasons into a show.
I mean, at some point it's got to level off, right? I mean,
how many people are there in America?
I guess not. Well, maybe
we got a lot of people to reach out to.
Maybe when they start the follow-up show, the additional episode, it'll start to saturate a little bit. Know what I mean?
But I think with that.
Do you think they're going to rotate those? Do you think they're going to have them on when like one will be off during break and they'll have the other one going?
I think that would be the smart thing to do.
I think it would be the smart thing to do.
If you run them both at the same time, the second one is going to be, it'll probably suffer by comparison and it'll lose. But if you're running it in the hiatus, basically you've got Walking Dead running 12 months out of the year.
That has to be that has to be the rationale for why they chose to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would think so. Let's hope so. Wow, that's awesome.
So, all right, tweets of the week.
Well, before we get to tweets of the week, Laura Will Swink wrote in, and she clarified for us that there was another 90-minute episode. It was the season 2 premiere. So last week we were talking about the fact that the finale for this season is going to be 90 minutes. That's been announced, but we couldn't remember if there was another episode. So she clarified that. Thanks, Laura. And also she had a great suggestion or idea on the gun that's marked with the J, and it made a whole lot of sense, and making me double think and actually probably retract my Judith idea. But she said the gun marked J, maybe it was Claymore Joe's, and that makes a whole lot of sense because he held that pistol to his head, and that was a big turning point for Rick emotionally. It's when he really made the commitment to the fact that he was going to do whatever it took to protect his family and the people he loved and cares about. And so it would make sense that he would hang on to that gun and keep it. And I thought that was a great observation by Laura. So thanks for writing that in. A couple other quick things before we get to tweets of the week. The last 5 episodes, I don't know if there's been a thing going around the internet, and people may or may not have heard about it. So I wanted to bring it up because we often talk about the titles and what their relevance is to the episode. And there's a theory going around that the last 5 episodes of the season's names are tied to a speech that Dale made in season 2, and it was a speech that I think it was made to Glenn. And it's real brief here. Basically, the episodes 512 is Remember, which we just saw. 513 is Forget. 514 is Spend. 515 is Try. And 516 is Conquer. And the theory is that they all refer to a speech about a watch which is interesting too, because time has been a constant thematic thing in the background in a lot of these episodes. But anyways, he's a speech about a watch Dale made in the season 1 episode, not season 2, Vatos, V-A-T-O-S, when asked why he was always winding his watch, which again, by the way, in this episode, we see Rick wind his watch when Deanna talks to him about the time to make the decision. Dale tells a story about a watch paraphrasing William Faulkner in the novel The Sound and the Fury. Dale's version is, quote, I give you the mausoleum of all hope and desire, which will fit your individual needs no better than it did mine or my father's before me. I give it to you not that you may remember time, but that you may forget it for a moment now and then, and not spend all of your breath trying to conquer it. So in that last sentence, it looks like the last sentence, there's the word remember, forget, spend, trying, and conquer, which are all the names of the last 5 episodes. So that was kind of interesting, I thought. And
I wonder what's up with all the Dale homage, because there was Dale with the RV, right?
Yeah.
And then,
they're definitely trying to remind you of him. I think it's because the whole question here, there's the moral ambiguity right now in the season of, have you gone too far? Have you become bad guy? Have you lost your moral compass? Again, you've got Glenn constantly fighting with that internally in his own, and then again with Rick, you got Michonne saying, you can be out here too long. There's this, and then Rick kind of just battling with, do I want to give up, the wild, not wild, but the survivalist mentality in order to survive in this group. Can I even do that? Can I come back from that edge? And Dale was kind of a moral compass of the group way back in that point. I don't know. That's the only thing I can think of. You got any ideas on why that would be?
I've been racking my brain as to why that would be, and I can't come up with anything. Why him specifically?
Yeah.
I mean, we've had moral compasses. We talked about like Tyrese, and we've had innocence with I mean, why not? Again, why Dale instead of going back to say Herschel? Um, and plus I don't know. I guess I question it too because Dale was part of that whole the or the actor who played Dale was part of that whole shifting out when they changed showrunners, right? And his loyalty to the first
Darabont.
one,
Yeah, to Darabont.
yeah, Frank Darabont. So I'm just wondering what's with all the Daleisms, and I can't quite get my head around what it is.
I don't know. I think it has to do with this idea that he would not have been able to do some of the things that the group has done in order to survive.
Right.
Like for instance, hacking those people to death in the church.
Right.
Now, to your point, I think Herschel would have been the same.
Right.
But I don't know. I don't know. There was a point where Herschel kind of said, you know what, Rick, I couldn't do it. He said, I think he was I could never do that. But the fact that there's somebody that can is good because it needs to be done. Herschel kind of got to that point, I thought. But Dale never did. Dale was kind of like, we have to try and hold on to this. And I don't know. Maybe it's because Alexandria presents the first opportunity the group has had really to kind of have the freedom or the ability to come back to more of that position. And the question is, will they? Will they be able to do that? I don't know. There was a quote from Andrew Lincoln about the finale where he said, I'm not positive where it was, but I just saw it on Twitter. Something beautiful happens at the end of this season. And then Norman Reedus was quoted as well just recently saying, bring your Kleenex, you'll be screaming at your television. Huh. so which is it? You know what I mean? It's like, who knows? You know what I mean? But it seems like they're already starting to do what they did the end of last season, where you had the everybody kind of saying, get ready for a real big tearjerker, and trying to gear you up for a big loss. So I don't know. I think it's just PR.
Yeah.
All right, tweets of the week. Tweets of the week. Hopefully that's now popping in. And let's see. At Gary A. Bro. OMG, Daryl hasn't showered yet. Get the Glade. That was cute. At JLKKLO 15. I'm guessing they made Carol their gardener. Hashtag look at the flowers. That was pretty good. At Herschel Green 1. I wonder if Carl's shoe is behind that door. Remember when he goes up to the attic room? Let's see. At Walking Dead Life. Will Carl stay in this house? Question mark. That's a good question. Boy, he's grown, huh?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Oh my gosh. I mean, he looks like every episode he looks bigger, taller, more grown up. And man, when he's standing with his dad in that zombie face-off, it was, wow, really, it was impressive how much bigger he's gotten. At Tom McCullough, I think my wife is still recovering from that Rick Grimes shower scene.
That was just one of those where you could almost hear the internet. You could just almost hear women everywhere swooning, between the shower and then afterwards with the shirtless. Yeah.
There's a great meme going around on Twitter. I'm sure it's on Facebook too. And it's got Eugene with his head in the window. Yeah. Like he's peeping on him.
Yes, I've seen that one.
You've seen that? Oh, it's funny. At Peter J. Kitelar, Daryl becomes a gigolo. Still got no job for Daryl yet. At Castle Fan 83, she's exiled 3 men. Rick's ripped a man's throat out with his teeth and hacked a guy up with a machete. Yeah, it can't compete with that.
Somebody tweeted the scene where she comes in and when they're all in the house and Deanna opens the door, comes the door and Rick opens the door and she goes, "Oh, wow, I didn't know what you had under there." Reading the tweet, it was like the beginning of a porno, and I was
Wow, chicka, wow, wow.
exactly.
Chicka, wow, wow. At TWD Junkie, professional poker player. Maybe Deanna should play a game with Eugene. Did you hear his rules last week? And then you heard, I think it was, I think it might have been Maggie who was complaining. She said, no, or yeah, it was Maggie because,
Because Beth's dead.
yeah. And she said, what is it? 14 cards are going to be wild?
Oh, yeah.
Are you serious? And he goes, serious as two dogs copulating. They need more Eugene, man.
Oh,
they don't do it anywhere near enough Eugene. And the last one is in reference to Deanna. At the Rick Grimes wrote, "The F is this 2020. Get your Barbara Walters ass out of my face."
Yeah.
Tweets of the week. All right. The good.
All right. So what were your goods? Well, wait. For how many headshots you giving it?
I gave it 4 noggin shots. Shout out to Abby Q.
Oh yeah, we have to welcome Abby to Twitter. He just joined this week.
That's right. That's right.
Nice of you to join us, Abby.
Yeah, welcome to the 21st century.
Okay, so you give it 4. All right.
I gave it 4. How many headshots you give it?
I'm giving it. I'm hemming and hawing. I'm gonna go with 3 on it.
Okay.
And I actually echo Diane Maythorne wrote in on Facebook. She said, "WTF? Did I watch a different show? All the other Deadcasts are raving about Remember, and I'm like, meh. I'm never indifferent to The Walking Dead. Apparently, I need to rewatch the episode." Well, Diane, I rewatched the episode because there were a couple details that I wanted to just look back over, and I still I'm with you. I don't get. I've read a bunch of what other people are saying and stuff, and everybody's digging this episode. But we'll talk about that. So I give it 3.
Okay.
Right.
Any title meanings other than the possible tie into Dale's speech?
Yeah, I can't. You've got me like trying to figure out how the title, like everything. I'm trying to figure out how everything fits into it. And I don't. No. The only thing I could come up with, and I'd seen that thing about Dale, that little tribute to, it's possibly ties into that, which makes sense to me. The only thing I could come up with is how it ties into Carl, something Carl says, and then Carol says later, which is when Carl is in the room after he's met with the kids his age, and he tells his dad, he's like, "Yeah, they're really nice people, but they're weak, and I'm afraid that if we stay here too long, we're going to be weak like them." Right. And then Carol echoes that at the end. And then there's that, that father-son bonding moment where they, kill the zombies out, off the reservation there. And I just think that for me, the remember part is what I was taking that it might mean is that they're into this community and it seems safe. There's walls all around, and we've got solar power, we've got water, blah, blah, blah. Right. And if you forget where you came from, you're going to become weak like these people. So you always have to remember where you came from in order to keep your wits about you, because your surroundings may have changed, you may be a little more comfortable, but the world is still nasty outside the gate. That's what I
agree. I think it was twofold, and I think that was one half of it. I totally agree. The other is that remembering, the ability to remember who they used to be before the apocalypse, and whether they're going to be able to remember how to be a human being in a social environment like a community like this. You know, so I think it was kind of a double meaning. Don't forget. You got to remember what the world is really like, and we certainly get evidence of people in that group who don't really understand what the world is like, even though they're living in it for 2 years, like that Aiden guy. But then also I think there's this idea of, can you try to remember what it was like, and are you going to be able to live like that again? So yeah, it was interesting. So go ahead. What are your goods?
Okay, so my goods are let's see here. One of the things that I really like, what's fun about these episodes clearly is you're looking for the hidden meaning. You're trying to find the little Easter eggs throughout the episode, and so I like the little ones that were in there. There were two comic book references to Kirkman in there. One was his Astonishing Wolfman was one of the comics, and Invincible was another one. So I thought those were Enid was the Wolfman one was up in the attic, and Enid was reading Invincible. Those are both Kirkman's comics. I thought those were I thought that was kind of funny. Did you get a time reference in this? Or
I did not.
Episode
I did
reference?
not. No, I did not. And
The only thing I can come up with, because it's prominent every time that video is on, is the bookshelf. There are 12 volumes of that encyclopedia or whatever. That's the only thing I could come up with.
Huh. Well, I wonder, what I didn't think to look at is that whenever you see, a video camera screen usually has the timestamp.
There was no timestamp.
There was no stamp. Okay.
And I thought this was episode 13. So when she looks at her watch, she says it's 3:37.
Right.
There you go. It adds up to 13. And
right.
I was like, oh wait, no, it's not 13. It's 12.
No, that's Kirk math.
That's Kirk Manley math.
That's Kirk Manley math. That's right.
Okay, so it's been a long time, and I don't know if I've ever said this, but I really liked Carl in this episode.
Yeah.
I liked
Agreed.
Again, it was one of those things where it was, he's younger, so this whole being in an area, being in this safe area, seeing that house, that $800,000 house, right? Well, that's basically your house now. Okay, great. When he goes next door and he's with Carol, and he's like, this place is like a mansion, and it's just you can see how it's like he wants this. The actor exuded that he wants this to work, that this is a place to be. When he meets the other kids, it's not just I really like the scene because he didn't just immediately downshift into typical teenager, like, hey, I've got friends, let's hang out. What do you want to do? You want to play pool, or do you want to play video games? And he kind of gets stuck, like, what the hell's a video game? Or right. There's like this weird. It's like he can't resolve in his head that suddenly he can play video games again, and he gets quiet, and I just really like that scene. I thought it was great. Glenn.
Agreed.
I liked Glenn this episode. Yeah, when was the last time you heard me say that?
Never. His takedown of that guy Aiden was the verb from the minute they walked in to the whole end of that scene was fantastic.
That was just awesome, and it's just it's just so funny because the core group versus everybody else. I mean, our core group is so cool that it was great to see him take Aiden down, and Aiden clearly had it coming. Let's see. I also liked. Loved Carol in this episode.
Yep.
And I loved that her, right from the jump. I think the first time we see her adopt this playing possum kind of mentality was her taking that gun off. When they collect all the weapons, she goes to take the gun off. And I'm like, why is she acting? And and then I look on her face. I was like, oh, I get it. I know what she's doing. Yeah. And it was just so how the actress, she has played it so well. It was just like, oh, me and this gun's just so big, and I can't get it off. And
she's smiling about it and laughing about it, giggling.
When they pull it off, and Rick watches the guns go away, then he looks back at Carol with that kind of, what the hell was that? And she just gives him, talk about your poker face. She just lays it, just no read whatsoever on her face. And then when she's on camera and she's talking about how she misses Ed, I mean, the BS flag is just flying. Now that those of us who know her,
I'm a people person.
Exactly. I mean, so I loved it. What was great about it too is that this wasn't a plan. This wasn't talked out with Rick. This was just her. She knew to slide into this. And I know that there's a lot of Carol haters out there. You can find them. There's a lot of haters for every character, but it seems like there's a disproportionate amount of Carol haters out there. But she's wily and cagey. I mean, she is even putting on. I was embarrassed for her for what she was wearing when she stepped out of that house, and her interaction with Daryl in that scene when she was like, basically acting like a mom, and he was like, "Well, you look stupid," I mean, that was a great scene.
Like when he said she said she was going to hose him down while he slept.
Yeah. That was a great scene.
Yep.
Let's see. I think that's. I like that they're. I like that they are. That they're trying to. That they're trying to adjust to this new. I don't know, lifestyle almost, or this new surrounding, and they. It's like we said last week. It's nice for them to have a little bit of downtime and just to kind of, get their bearings and almost it's like they've been going full tilt for so long that this is going to be good to kind of, it's going to lull some people into a false sense of security, and then going back to the whole what we talked about. Remember, they're going to have to like remind themselves or relearn what the real world is like out there. So I like how this is getting set up.
Yep.
I think those
agree.
are the
I have a question too. This is going to be a big spoiler for people who don't read the book or people who read the book but aren't up to speed on it. So if you don't want spoilers from the book, you should jump ahead. Correct me if I'm wrong, but basically from here to where we are now in the comic, we don't leave Alexandria, right? The world gets bigger. There's a lot more players, but we don't really. I mean, and there's a time jump,
right?
But where they are now is essentially where we just landed, right?
Right.
I'm not. There was no move there, right?
Yeah, I don't think so.
I think there's all the communities, but that community starts with Alexandria, right?
Right.
Yeah. So that's kind of cool.
So that's actually a good point.
Which means going forward for the series, unlike what it's been every season or every 2 seasons, there's been some sort of a major change of theater, whether it's the farm or the prison or on the road or then Alexandria.
We should be here for a while.
Right.
I actually just wanted to talk about that because this episode, when they introduced Deanna Monroe, the name kind of clicked with me. The whole thing about her being a congresswoman from the 15th district of Iowa kind of clicked with me, and I had to go back and read look at the book.
Yeah, they just switched it around.
Right. So for people not familiar with the book, if you want to check it out, it's I think it's volume 11 if you get them in the trades, but it's issue 60 when they introduce this. It's actually Douglas Monroe, and he's a congressman from Ohio and all that stuff. But basically what happens in this episode tracks really closely to when they first when our group first comes into Alexandria. So if you're interested in checking out the comic portion, how it compares to the show, that's where you want to go. You go to issue 60, or it's trade 11, right? I see you got it in your hands.
Yeah, it's trade 11.
What's the title?
Life Among Them.
Yep.
I was just checking too that that's where we. But it's interesting. We've got the Aiden character who's, I think that's his name, right? The
Yes.
son of Deanna, who's heads up the scouts, or the guys who go out. What do they call that? The
what do
guys
they call not
yeah,
not a raiding party,
runners or
yeah,
whatever.
something like that.
But they had this great character in the book, Heath.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that he comes into it. I mean, he was established; he had been there for a long time, but they seem to have taken him out of the picture so that they could have this more incompetent person. Because Heath headed up that part of their their groups, and,
Right.
and he was really good. But yeah, they've just taken the leader from the comic and just switched the name around and made it a woman.
Yep.
So my goods, I had a lot of the same ones, so I won't repeat them. I'll just mention them. But some of the ones that I had that are different. I love the entire entrance scene.
Oh yeah.
They just come in. They're such badasses. Like you're saying, I love where our group is now. Sasha with the head shot. All he does is he just says Sasha, and she just turns, boom, one shot, heads off, turns back around, and then he turns around and says, "Good thing we're here."
Yeah.
That was great. Of course, Daryl with the possum is a classic. We brought dinner.
We brought dinner.
That was awesome. That was classic. So that whole sequence I thought was great. I loved the sex, lies, and videotape structure that they gave this episode. I liked that. They keep trying to. You know what? This may be part of my. Yeah. You know what? I'm going to come back to that because I put that as part of my ugly. I liked the Deanna, the leader. She seemed smart and legit. The shot, some people may have missed it, was pretty quick, but there was a shot of the church steeple.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you saw that or not, but any fan of the comic, had to love seeing that, for what comes from that. I liked that they stuck that in. Loved the sequence with Glenn and Tara and Noah out in the test run. And as I mentioned before, that whole sequence when they come back in and he says, you almost got us killed out there. And he turned around, he goes, "I'm pretty sure that's you're talking about."
Right.
Or what? I'm paraphrasing, but that was hilarious. And then of course, think of the Glenn that we met in season 1, and how he could never have stood up to this guy the way that he did
right.
in this episode, and then anticipate the hit and then take the guy down and just, it was just really, it was just cool. I loved that. I loved when Rick was thought he had lost Carl and Judith,
mm-hmm.
and he's running through the. That felt so real to me.
Mm-hmm.
That as a parent who would have has gone through what he's gone through, to all of a sudden let your guard down for a minute and then feel like you've lost them. Just the panic must have just freaked out.
Yeah.
I can imagine what was running through his head, oh my God, it's happening. It is a trap. It's all coming down on me right now, and I thought he did a great job on that. I loved Carol. I thought her whole thing, like you said, was fantastic. Loved the father-son zombie bonding with Rick and Carl.
Mm-hmm.
This falls into both my good and bad. So the good part of it, though, was just they just clicked together. And for the first time, I felt like even more, there was a great scene in season 4, I think, when they are at the prison and there's a huge breakthrough of a herd through the gates, remember?
Right.
And the two of them line up with submachine guns and they're, or M16s and they're taking down the zombies. And that was a great scene. This had the same kind of quality to it, but they were even more on an equal footing,
Yeah.
And that was cool. And then of course Carl, says, "Let me finish it," and it's kind of like showing his dad that he's really capable of handling himself now, thought that was well done. Love that they also made Michonne a constable, which is right out of the book. Although I think in reality, and sometimes the show I think tries to be more realistic than the comic, which makes sense because you're translating a 2-dimensional comic book to a 3-dimensional dramatic portrayal.
Right.
You should try to make it a little bit more realistic. I think in reality, any smart leader would have put one of the old group or a current group, the Alexandria people, with a new group member if they made them a sheriff or made them the constable.
Right.
And I mean, just for balance sake,
Right.
got to figure they're going to go into situations, confrontations. They're not going to want them, the people that are already there to feel like they're
Well, especially after the end of this one, or towards the end of this one, when you get the confrontation between Glenn and Aiden, and Aiden looks back at Deanna and is like, "Why'd you bring them in here?"
Right.
So she's clearly showing favoritism towards these new people, and like you said, pair them up with somebody from inside here, so that it doesn't look like I'm playing favorites, and it's. Plus, you're basically saying, here's a badge. You've got the run of the place. When I don't know, for 2 years now, this has kind of been your kingdom, and there's nuances and stuff, and you can't just come in and have someone just throwing their weight around. Understand how we do things here, kind of thing. So
right.
No, I agree with that.
Right. I love their little scene, Michonne and Rick's, with when she comes down after having the bath or whatever, and she's got the toothbrush and says that she could have stayed with the toothbrush doing the toothbrush for hours or whatever, and then she sees him for the first time without the beard, and she cocks her head, and there's this little flirtatious smile in the cock of her head, and then she's like, "I've never seen your face like that." And it was just really, they're definitely playing that up. And now it's kind of becoming clear to me, because I think obviously there's going to come a point, and if they follow the comic book, there will, where Michonne and Rick are not going to see eye to eye in their constable job.
Right.
And that's going to be made a lot more dramatic and powerful if they've got this kind of growing connection,
right.
that, you know what I mean? So now it's starting to make sense as to why the writers are taking them down this path, because they're going to hit them a bump, you know what I mean?
Right.
And it's going to be a much more powerful bump. I liked Enid. I like the mystery about her. I like that Carl seems kind of attracted to her because she's kind of odd and out of place.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was good. I definitely, there's a lot of rumors online, everything. It does seem like she might be some sort of a spy.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, the Wolf magazine that's hers kind of ties back to the Wolves graffiti we've seen, the W's on the heads. There's some sort of group out there. I'm wondering if the Wolves aren't going to be the TV's versions of the Saviors, which are the group that come in the comic book to Alexandria first and have a confrontation with Rick. I'm wondering too if there isn't already, it seems like Deanna really, has some sort, not an ulterior motive, but clearly a motive for why she wants this group to join them.
Mm-hmm.
And it definitely seems like it's super important to her that they merge with them and do it quickly and effectively, that they did so much intel and research on them in advance to make sure they're the right kind of group to bring in. She's definitely looking for somebody or a group of people to add strength to where they are definitely weak. And I think that's because my guess is she knows of a threat that's out there that's eventually coming, that she knows is coming, and she needs soldiers to be ready for it.
Right.
And that's what I got from that. And I think Enid is somehow mixed up in that. But I don't know. Did you get a feel for that or not?
Yeah, but I'm trying to resolve it with what I know from the comic. So
yeah, there is no Enid in the comic. Or
I meant Deanna,
right.
But Enid, someone put out there that I wish I could take it for my own, and I should, but I won't. Somebody else put it out there that Enid, because it's such an odd name, it's Dine if you switch it around.
Dine.
So does coincidence? Does that mean is she what are the Wolves saying? When it comes to the Wolves, another theory that's going on around out there, and I can't I I can't kind of figure it out unless. Okay, so everybody's buying about the wolves motif and all this other stuff. What if the wolves thing was just something that was like a generic thing out there? It's just someone. There are roving bands of people who go around and they do awful things, right? And it's just you would consider them wolves, right? Wolves come in, and so it's just a generic name that someone spray painted on a wall. What if the wolves are actually, and all the motifs and everything you see are actually Rick and group? That given how they were talking, we saw twice Rick on tape with his, or we saw him on tape once and we heard it again, him talking about you don't let people inside your walls because people are going to try to find your weaknesses and exploit that. They're going to find what they can take over, and basically he was basically given what happens at the end,
describing himself.
Yeah, exactly. So, so there's a theory out there that the wolves thing is actually it's all about them, and that there may be another group out there, but that's not actually the wolves.
Yeah,
and
I'm not buying that.
So you have to resolve. Okay, well, what's the W in the foreheads? Well, that could be the Whisperers, right?
Yeah.
So
that could be the Whisperers, and that they've basically kind of mixed the two together to or put clues for both groups in order to just kind of confuse us. Definitely. But I think that the wolves is a direct reference to some sort of a group that's out there that calls themselves that or goes by that. There just seems to be too many symbols of it, or mentions of it, or visual cues about it. So what about bads?
Okay, so my bads basically start right from the beginning. I thought it was cool, and the badass look of them showing up. I think it was Gary Dombrowski said that. Well, my first thought was, where are the kids? We ended last episode with we hear kids inside, right? And that's the thing that convinces Rick that, hey, you know what? I hear something inside. There's kids. There could be people, and blah blah blah, and that convinces him to go inside. When the gate opens up, I was expecting to see, I don't know, 5
kids.
people, 2, a kid, yeah, something. There's nobody there, right? There's one guy on the gate, and there's Aaron. Now, given how manic and mental Rick was last week about, protect the family and, protect everybody, and we're not going there unless we know what all the variables are, they walk in, there's nobody there. I would have expected that Rick would have been like, we're not taking another foot in here until we see what's going on, and not us go to your leader. No, screw that. You bring your leader, bring Deanna out to us.
Right.
So I thought that was just out of character for what we had established Rick for being. I also didn't like that when Aaron says, we got to meet you. We're gonna bring you to meet Deanna. Who's the person who says who's Deanna? It was Abraham. Wait, what? I mean, that's it. It just I don't know. It felt like they shoehorned something in to just give Abraham, remind people that Abraham's still around. If anything, it should have been Daryl, right? So I don't know. That was just kind of odd. I didn't like, while you said you liked the videotape thing, I didn't like that. I didn't see a need for it, except for the fact that you could replay it at the end when Rick says, well, why do you videotape it? And she says, well, we're all about transparency here. What the hell does that mean? Transparency for what? Like, who are you going to show? Are you going to sit around with everybody and watch the videos? I mean, it doesn't.
There aren't any movies being made.
Yeah, I guess. And it typically, we were talking about Deanna before, and you said, well, you think her intentions are pure, but usually when somebody puts it out there, like, well, we're all about transparency here. Usually when you put something out there like that, kind of the opposite is what happens. I didn't. While I liked Carol on there, while I liked the Carol interview, I didn't. There's no way. There's no way that I believed Daryl would ever be caught on camera. No way. I get that he was walking around carrying the possum, which I thought was hysterical, and just kind of being,
Being Daryl.
ADHD. Yeah, exactly. I didn't buy it. There's no way there's no way you'd get him on camera. She says that, and this was one part actually I thought was funny or interesting, because this is more color on what the outside world was and how we came to be in all this. That Northern Virginia was evacuated and millions of people were gone, suddenly gone, which I think is cool. And we've talked before about how when you get these little tidbits of what the world was like,
Now that so Alexandria is in Northern Virginia.
Yes. Alexandria
okay. Well, that helps make a lot of things make more sense.
Yeah.
The fact that there aren't as many zombies, there's no hordes, there's, what I mean, that that they haven't maybe been attacked as much by roving bands of human, bad guys, because there's nobody there.
Right.
Okay.
But it also leaves when she talks about her families and how she's, Rick would be good for the community. Rick never follows up and asks about, well, how many families, how many children, because clearly he hasn't seen anybody since he's been in there.
I thought Aaron said that they had 40 people at some point. Maybe it wasn't in this episode. I think it was in one of the other episodes.
Might have been in the prior one.
Which is not many people in that big, and that was the other thing, that was that entrance was deceptive because it made it look like a small little community. Then there's a later scene where they come out on a street that is like a long street and it dips down a hill and there's church and there's buildings and it's basically a town.
Right.
And I was like, holy cow, this thing's a town. It's not just a couple of houses that are. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not just a cul-de-sac.
Right. So if you've got a huge town and there's only 40 people in it, then you might not see many people very often, But that wasn't clear at the entrance. I agree.
But it's also one of those things. If you're in this community and you've only been here for 2 years, wouldn't you want to see who the new people are that are coming into the community?
Yeah.
And see who's being integrated in with you. I just want to back up a second. I know I'd mentioned Gary's something about Gary, and it had to do with the kids. And I had said something about why, when you come in, all of a sudden there weren't any kids, but we heard kids last episode. Gary said that he thought it was all in Rick's head, that it was his imagining. But I thought they really did hear kids, didn't they?
Yeah, I think because Michonne hears it too.
Yeah, I thought. Yeah.
Yeah, that I thought it was. I remember reading that by Gary as well, and I thought it was an interesting idea. But no, I think there was a legitimate sound. Yeah.
Now, one of the first things I picked up was the first shot that we get of it. And I can't remember when. It might be when Rick comes out and starts doing his little walkabout. And Gary picked it up as well. If you're reinforcing your perimeter, why do you put the braces on the outside where the enemy is?
That was pretty dumb.
So when Deanna's sitting there talking about my husband, basically her husband built this because he was an architect or something. Your husband's an idiot because
your husband wasn't a very good architect.
He's a moron.
Yes. Where is her husband, by the way? Interesting. I don't know if he's going to show up or not.
He's with all the other people who live in this town.
Disappeared. Maybe he didn't say 40. Maybe it was 4.
Maybe. So Carl's in this house, in his $800,000 house, and he hears a noise. He goes upstairs, opens the door, and there's that dramatic moment. And he walks in, and what does he do? Ooh, comic book. Did you see the rope leading out the window?
Right.
Behind him that he never goes and looks at? Why, if everybody is camping out in the room, and again, this is just one of those problems when you've got an ensemble cast and you've got all these people. I understand you can't give everybody dialogue and can't keep them all, in the camera's lens, but I just thought it was ridiculous that they were all just kind of sitting there like refugees in the same room, all on top of each other, and everybody's morbid. Like everybody's just kind of, they've all got these like scared looks on their faces. When, look, I get why Michonne and Rick are agitated, and I get why, well, Daryl's Daryl, and what Carol's doing, but everybody else, someone else, Tara should just kind of be like, holy crap, running water, electricity, and a roof over our heads, but nobody was there. It was like everybody just was background noise, and I just thought that was just a little ridiculous. When Michonne says, "I have a good feeling about this place," I love Michonne. I really hope this doesn't come to bite her in the ass, because when you say stuff like that, it typically comes back to bite you in the butt. Let's see. I didn't. Daryl kind of lost me on this episode, because 2 episodes ago you couldn't keep him on the trail. He kept diverting off to go find stuff. Now you can't get him off the porch, and it's just, if anything, I would expect Daryl to be always, where's Daryl? Daryl's never around, because Daryl's hunting around trying to find out all the secrets of this place and just trying to figure it out. And he didn't. He was just kind of sitting there like, I don't know. He was almost like a petulant little boy, and
I think they're, well, yeah, petulance is a good analogy. I think they're just trying to. I agree. It didn't feel right. I think what they're trying to do is shift gears on him, because he's clearly not going to fit in. He's not going to feel comfortable. They're not going to feel comfortable with him. He's too much like a claimer type guy.
Right.
And he's going to make everybody nervous. And we heard Deanna say that she's exiled 3 people before. He's going to be getting this vibe that he doesn't fit in, and he's not going to feel comfortable. I think that's a good storyline. I think it's, and I have a wild theory at the end of the show here I'll go through as to why they might be going that way. But and I'm fine with it, but I agree with you. It's happening way too fast.
Right.
I mean, last episode, he's in the barn with everybody, and Aaron's like, come live with us, and he's like, I don't want to live out in a barn. This smells like horse shit. You know what I mean? I want to go where there's people. I want to go to a community. So when you get there, you try to make it work, and then if it doesn't, then you start having problems.
Right.
But immediately, he starts feeling like, I don't fit in. I don't belong here. I'm not comfortable inside this house. I got to carry my possum around to remind me that I'm a wild man. It's like, I'm going to cut it right here on the. I'm talking about passive aggressive.
Yeah.
I mean, you got a kitchen with running water. You bring that possum in, you clean it and cut it, and all up inside. Why would you do it all over the nice porch? You know what I mean? Not that you're worried about how things look, but it's just passive aggressive.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's a petulant. I would agree with you, but I think I know why they're going that way. I just think they're doing it too fast. But obviously, the story dictates it.
I didn't care for. I kind of agree with you about the father-son moment with Rick and Carl killing the zombies. But it's a bad because it was stupid. You didn't need to do it. I get why you did it, because it's you're coming off that conversation with Carl, and this is a way to reestablish. I took that look between the two of them like, yeah, we're not weak. We remember what it's like out here.
Right.
And
Exactly. I think that's exactly what that was.
But it was dumb. Later on, especially because you're coming off of, the dumb thing that happened to Tyrese, a couple episodes ago. So I also when Glenn, Tara, and Noah go out with douchebag and the other guy, and they, the walker got away, and they. After they put him down, and Glenn goes, he's like, "What the hell, man? You almost got her killed." actually, no, Tara almost got herself killed. What the hell are you doing reaching out and like grabbing him by the shoulders? Like stick him in the head. And it's just one of those things where here's a guy who
I think they're holding him, right? And she's standing there and then he rips himself free because the skin comes off of him, or is she?
No, he's turned it's turned and going after Aiden. And so she's at the thing's back and she goes and
the skin rips off.
Yeah, the skin rips off. Why are you telling you she's the resident red shirt? Like she's not going to survive the season because that's just stupid. And it was just kind of the three of them being, especially Glenn being, I don't know, I guess being as emotional about it as it was one walker. You know, I mean, you guys have been fighting 6 at a time, and I think he was being so pissed off,
not just because of the walker, but also because of the shock that to find out that they had strung this thing up and were basically trying to torture it as payback for what it had done to their friends. And he's just like, holy cow, this is the most retarded, stupidest, douchebaggery that I've seen.
Yeah.
This is so clearly you guys are so out of your element. You don't know what the hell you're doing, and but I think that coupled with then the zombie attack, I think that's why he was so freaked out.
I read something somewhere. Somebody said that again that was another callback to Dale. That the actor playing that zombie.
Correct. That's correct.
Was the one who bit Dale.
Yep, that's correct. Same actor, and he looked very similar. I think they tried to make it look similar. Yeah, I think there's clearly an effort to call back to Dale and I'm not exactly sure what it is. I think it has to do with that whole moral compass thing, but yeah, that there's another good example of it. Yeah.
The other thing that just kind of I just kind of cringed with. Look, the actress who played Deanna Monroe, Tova Feldshuh, I've seen her before, and I think she's a good actress, and I thought she played this part well. But the line where she says, "I'm exceptionally good at reading people. If I didn't win re-election, I was going to be a professional poker player." I'm not kidding. I was just like, "Oh God, really?" No.
No, that wasn't from the book, right? Because the congressman didn't. Yeah, he didn't. No. I think he talked about the fact that, he was such a good read of people, and that he had a really, basically because of his job as a senator, and having to deal with the public and having to deal with constituents, and he had gotten really. I think there was a lot of that discussion.
That would have been much better. That would have been much better dialogue.
I don't know why they felt poker. What the hell? I totally agree with you on that.
All right, that's all I got.
My bad. Some overlap with yours. For me, it was hard to believe that this place, and I had the same problem with the comic, so at least it's consistent. But hard to believe that this place would have survived this long, with these douches in charge. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's just now that throwaway line about the fact that millions of people were evacuated, leaving basically Northern Virginia empty. That does kind of go a long way to making this more plausible, because there would be a lot less zombies if all those people left and didn't die here. There would be a lot less roaming, bands of wild men and scavengers. So it is possible, maybe, but their movement and activity in and out of the place to go, get supply runs and do things like that is going to be seen, is going to be observed, is going to be heard, is going to,
Oh, yeah.
So I found it really hard to believe that they would have survived this long without, more people like Rick and his group, involved. The same thing with the kids. The Enid struck me as somebody who's lived in the apocalypse for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
The other two boys, total, like they just stepped out of 2015. Now, what I mean. And I had a lot of trouble with that, because even if you're sheltered and you're locked in here and you have all these comforts of home, you're still going out. You're still seeing what the world's like. You still know. There's no, I don't know. I thought the Aiden guy was a bit of a cartoon character. I understand that they wanted to make their point about how inept this group was and how much they needed people like the Team Rick. But boy, he was I've had ROTC training. It was like, oh yeah. I totally agree with you on the walls. That was just lame.
Unless, just as an aside on that, the only thing is that unless, but again, it doesn't play with her, or maybe it does, I don't know. But the only time you would build walls like that is if you're trying to keep whoever's on the inside, right?
Yeah. And maybe they're doing that to purposefully make people think that, I don't think there's, I think people are crazy if they think that this is going to end up being some sort of a dark place. It's not.
They've been playing up the ominousness.
It's no way. We've had our terminus. We've had our prison. We've had our Woodbury. This is Alexandria, and this is a whole new chapter and direction of the story based on how the books are. And this is what it is. This is being presented. I loved the scene with Rick and Carl. Everything after Carl gets there. When Carl first gets there, there's no it's like this is what I had problems with that scene. Rick just like looks over, there's zombies coming, he looks over, sees his son who's supposed to be back in Alexandria behind the walls, protected with his daughter, standing there out roaming around. He doesn't even say anything to him.
Right.
He just turns around, and I know that they were trying to make this whole thing about how they clicked and they were back into survival mode, and they were Team Rick and Team Carl and rah. But it's like, hello, what the fuck are you doing out here?
Right.
You know what I mean? That should have been the first thing he said.
Right.
Then turned around, killed the zombies, and then said, "Dude, what are you doing out here?" It's like, now you're gonna get in trouble.
Right.
But so that was those were my bads.
Who do you think? Where do you think? Who do you think took the gun?
I think either of two scenarios are possible. I think either Enid took the gun, and because of her going, it seemed like a bit of a setup, because the fact that there was a zombie in that rug, that zombie wasn't there when he put the gun in there. That zombie didn't crawl into that rug. That zombie had been rolled up into the rug and put there, but that zombie wasn't there when he put the gun in that thing.
Maybe it was, and I mean, because it takes a while for that thing to come out.
I don't think so. Nah. It seemed like it was a bit of a trap, that they put the zombie there in the rug so that if someone came back looking for the gun, that they'd get, and that would be kind of tie into the zombies that we saw in the episode, the Tyrese episode, with the W's ripped in their head. Mm-hmm. Whoever's doing the wolves, if that's who it is, they're using the zombies somehow, or the whisperers maybe. Mm-hmm. But they're definitely, the fact that they had them chop the arms and legs off, but took the torsos with the mouths, so they were still basically, those entities were still lethal.
Right.
Maybe they're using them as some sort of weapons. That's the other possibility, is that the people from Alexandria observed them while they were coming in, and it wasn't just that there was people watching them while they came in with Aaron, and that they watched Rick and they watched him place it there, and they went out and took it because they didn't want to, a scenario where he turned out to be a bad guy, escaped and got his hands on a gun. Right. So that's the other possibility. I think those are the only two viable possibilities.
Yeah, I was thinking that it was Enid.
Yeah.
All right, before we get to the uglies, just two quick observations. First of all, Alexandra Breckenridge, who plays Jessie, this is near and dear to you and I, since we're here in Connecticut. She's from Bridgeport.
No kidding.
And she went to school in Darien, grew up in Darien, and then I think when she was 13 or so, she went out to California and got into acting.
Wow.
So she's a Connecticut girl.
What else has she been in?
She's been in American Horror Story, and she's been in 2 seasons of American Horror Story, and she's been in a couple other things. But
she's pretty good. I thought she was pretty good.
Yeah, no, I liked her.
I felt she was good. I felt
Yeah.
she was good, and I thought their interaction was good.
Now, one of the other thing I want to mention is when Michonne is sitting in front of the camera, she's got a book in her hand, and the book says the title of the book on the spine says "Crime Without Punishment." She's holding it, in her lap, but it's directly facing the camera. So there's a lot going around the internet about how this is a book about. There's a lot going around the internet saying that this ties into the 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 aggressive stance of Rick and crew, coming in, taking over Alexandria. They're the wolves and blah, 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 because Crime Without Punishment is about the Russian massacre at Katyn, Poland, in World War II. This is actually incorrect. The book that she has is Crime Without Punishment, and I don't know if somebody can figure out how this ties in. There's a possibility how this ties in. I'll mention in a second, but it's actually written by John McClellan, and it's about his time when he was on the Select Committee on Improper Activities in Labor and Management, and basically his experiences investigating crime in labor unions. Now, why that matters to Michonne, the only thing that I could think of is Michonne's. We haven't talked about it in the show so far, but her background is she's supposed to be a lawyer.
Oh yeah.
Right? So therefore
yeah.
she would have that book because so for those uninitiated with Michonne in the comic, this might be a tip to a nod to her past, and that she's that she would have interest in a book like this.
Oh, interesting. That's good. That's an interesting catch.
Okay, so my ugly. Okay, so my ugly is basically the ending. And
Is it good ugly or bad ugly?
Oh, it's a really good ugly. It's great. It's Carol, Daryl, and Rick.
Yeah. The classic
And
crew.
yeah, and it's like the triumvirate, and it's funny because when Rick comes out and he's got his uniform on, and Daryl's sitting there, and they've kind of what does he say to Daryl? He says something like, "Are you good, or are we good?" Something like that. And then Carol comes out, and it was like you see the Trinity there. Well, why isn't Michonne there? But it was something that ties into what you said about how, yeah, she's a constable too, but she's going to be that diametrically opposed.
Yep.
So this group here, and there wasn't talk about, again, it wasn't strategizing and everything. It was just body language and just how they were carrying themselves. And Rick says at the end, we won't get weak. This is and after Carol basically echoes what Carl said, and he says, well, Carl said the same thing, and he says, we won't get weak. That's not in us anymore. And listen to how, and it was funny how the music was playing at the same time, and I didn't catch it the first time. I caught it on the second watch, where it's kind of like almost like lilty, kind of hopeful kind of music, as he says, we won't get weak. That's not in us anymore. We'll make it work. And then halfway through this next sentence, the music just kind of takes a lower tone into a more ominous one, where he says, where if they can't make it, then we'll just take this place. And that's just, that's the Rick that we want to see, that's the kind of, that's the part. The end of the show ties in with the Rick from last episode, who was very cautious and controlling of the group. Not so much the beginning of the episode when he just blindly walks into this place and, hey, where the hell are the people? But I really like that ending, and that they're not, they're aware of themselves and the outside world, and it doesn't matter. They are the ultimate survivors. And remember, this was put on the back of us hearing again Rick basically talking about himself and the group. You don't open your gates for anybody. Right. Everybody's going to pick your defenses, and find out where you're weak and see how they can exploit you. Absolutely talking about them. They just, Deanna just if you accept that this is there's something ominous about or even if you accept that everybody inside Alexandria is going to be weak, you just let the fox into the hen house, right? And
I agree with you. I thought that scene was fantastic. I loved it. It is part of my ugly good as well. I agree with you on all the aspects. I think it ties directly to the theme of that episode and to the title. It's where throughout the episode, there's even Rick is struggling with, is he going to be able to balance this? Is he going to be able to come back from the edge? Is he going to, is he not going to forget about what it's like out there? Daryl's worrying that he's already forgot. Carol says to, on the way in, you may have been wrong, but you're still right. And she's obviously still worried about that too. And they're looking to him like, are you still worried about this or not? And he's saying, I remember. Don't worry about me.
Right.
I got the suit on. I got the tie on. I got the badge on.
I'm freshly shaved.
I'm freshly shaved, but I remember.
Yep.
And I thought that was fantastic. But I'm going to disagree with, no, I don't know if it's disagree with you, but I'm going to refine that a little bit more. There was a great review of the episode on IO9. And they had a nice interpretation of that I thought was really great. I'm quoting their review. It's a chilling moment to hear Rick talk about overthrowing a group that has peacefully and optimistically let them in. But in a way, it's also clear proof that Rick and the others aren't too far gone. The termites would be plotting to take control of the town and eat everybody the minute they entered. The governor wouldn't have even bothered entering and instead tried to take the place by force. Rick and the others are giving the Alexandrians a chance, which isn't much, but still sets them apart from those who have definitely been out there too long. If the Alexandrians somehow endanger Rick and his friends, they're done. Survival is job number one.
Yep.
And that's really, I think, what Rick was saying. He wasn't saying, I'm a badass, claimer guy, and we're just going to, take this place if they don't, it's more like, we're going to try and make this work. We're going to show them what they have to do to get this place so that it will work. And if they don't come along, then we'll take it over, because we know this place won't last if it's not run with that kind of knowledge.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I thought that's really what they were trying to do with Rick there. And I thought that was fantastic.
Well, that's a good spot for me to throw this in then too. So in Talking Dead, apparently Chris Hardwick had mentioned, I saw it in the commercial, he said that there was going to be an Easter egg that he was going to reveal during the show. Well, apparently people watched. Did you watch that episode of Talking Dead?
So apparently,
Okay, so apparently he gets through the entire episode of Talking Dead and no Easter eggs are revealed, and people are like, "What?" And they take to Twitter, and he writes on Twitter. He says the Easter egg was in Ms. Womble's wardrobe package for those who just watched AMC Talking Dead. And I pulled this off the internet when I don't know who to credit this to, but anyway, it said that Miss Womble is Yulin Womble, who is the costume designer for The Walking Dead. She had a segment on Talking Dead where she talked about the constable uniform given to Rick in Alexandria. The shoulder badge on Rick's new jacket contains a Latin phrase, which when translated means, "We will rise again." The "we will rise again" phrase was the Easter egg. Back in season 3, episode 3, the governor used the "we will rise again" phrase when talking to Michonne and Andrea. So I thought that was, like I said, it kind of dovetails into what you were just talking about.
Wow, that's like digging deep, though. I mean, I would never have seen that.
Yeah.
That's why I can't read Latin.
You can barely read English, let alone Latin.
Barely read. My ugly goods, my uglies were also good. There were 2 of them. I really liked the sex, lies, and videotape aspect of the episode. I thought I love when how they've been trying to create creative storytelling and different artistic ways of approaching the stories this season, being a lot more adventurous with it. And I thought this was a great way to do it. It also gave us a chance to have a lot of character development through dialogue without having people preaching, without having, long segments that we hate, like from season 2, where people are sitting talking back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And it also, the pulling the pieces out, the quotes out, like you said, and overlapping them at the end. And I think it also is in the beginning they do that. It's great, and it throws you off a little bit, like what is he saying, and why is he saying this, and what's the context for when he's going to say this. And I'm really glad to see them doing that kind of stuff with the show. Sometimes it's not going to work as well as it each time, but it's still, if you don't try. So I love that. Let's see. So I liked that. Andrew Lincoln's performance was the second ugly for me. I just thought it was fantastic. I felt like we were really almost like we were watching a movie about a PTSD victim, or a returning vet, and that's what I really saw. When she comes over to cut his hair, and his uncomfortableness with it, his unwillingness to open up, his almost fragileness to some degree, his knowledge of what he's capable of, and all the post-traumatic stress that's kind of coming down on him from now that he's got time to sit and think about that, and I just think he just, like, the whole shower sequence and the bathroom sequence and the shaving, no words, no dialogue, and yet so much was communicated. The scene where he panics and thinks he's lost Carl and Judith, I believed it. I believed that the horror in his eyes, I thought he did a great job on that. Let's see. The way he delivered that line in that interview. I have killed people. I don't even know how many about now, but I know why they are all dead. They're dead so my family can be alive, so that I can be alive for them. And for me, that just sums up Rick Grimes in a nutshell.
Yeah.
The comic one as well as now the TV one. Thank goodness. And I think that's exactly what Deanna wanted to hear. She wants somebody who can come in, a general almost, like, that will, if she can get them to see her family as his family, then they will do whatever it takes to protect them. And so I think that was exactly what she needed to hear. So yeah, those are my two uglies.
Character of the week?
Got to be Rick for me.
It's Carol for me.
You? Carol.
That was
she didn't have a whole lot, but what she had, she did fantastic with. And some of that's the writing too, though. I mean, it was genius to have her, to start playing possum like that. That was fantastic. But yeah, when her tape recording, when she's smiling and she's talking about her husband and us knowing all that's going on, it was just, that was fantastic. That was, I totally agree with you. Zombie kill of the week.
There weren't too many here. I'm gonna go with the pipe to the head, the one under the carpet.
Yeah.
The skin coming off the other guy was cool, but
yeah. I'll go with that one. You go with the pipe guy.
All right. Split the difference.
All right, crazy predictions, which I did last week as well. If I do it more than 3 times, we're gonna have to come up with another one of those little intro things. Got any crazy predictions?
I do, but I can't talk about them because it's
too crazy.
Well, it's too crazy, but it also spoils. It'll spoil what's in the comic, so I don't want to bring it up.
All right. Well, what I'm gonna bring up is a theory that would spoil the comic. So
okay,
well, I guess spoil the comic, and if they do it, then the show. But so if you're not, if you don't want a spoiler, you should definitely jump ahead from the comic. Okay, they're definitely painting Daryl as going to be an outsider. They're definitely making it clear he's uncomfortable there. He doesn't feel he's fitting in. He doesn't, like the situation. The preview for next week seems like they start tracking him or following him when he goes out, and he doesn't like that and everything else. What if Daryl gets exiled from Alexandria or chooses to leave? Much like Carol when Rick banished her. Remember, there was then we went like a half a season without Carol, I think. But maybe he ends up coming back later in the series as Negan's right-hand man.
Ooh.
And the reason I'm thinking that is in the comic, you have Dwight, who has a crossbow and wears the vest, right? Right? So, and then of course Dwight, and again, these are big spoilers, ends up being the turning point in the whole battle between those two communities. And comes, and works with Rick, which would be unnatural given their background. It would be a way to darken Daryl. It'd be a way to get him off, but not have him leave and have him come back, have him kind of expand. And because I think they're getting the start. I would think they're starting to feel like everyone thinks that, he's off limits, that he can't die. And they're like, well, maybe he can't die, but maybe he can change. You know what I mean? Now they already had him go once with the Claimers, and that turned, so I don't know. Maybe that makes that too predictable, but I just wanted to throw it out there as a possible.
All right, that's interesting.
Okay. And then the bat scene, because I've thought, since they didn't do Tyrese with the governor and the head chopping off, that maybe they won't do Glenn, it'll be somebody else, and everyone's like, well, the natural would be Daryl. But I'm thinking now I'm thinking either two things. Now that I've thought of this idea with Daryl, or put this theory together, is that no one dies that way. Maybe that scene comes to, and Daryl's solution is he stands up and says, I'll go with you, or maybe they take Daryl or something. I don't know. Or maybe they threaten Carol, and so he goes with them.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Something like that. I don't know, but yeah, I think if anybody gets that bad now, I'm thinking it's going to be Abraham, but I don't know. The other thing too is if they get Daryl, if they move Daryl out of this situation, then they can develop the relationship between Abraham and Rick.
Right. And bring them closer to how they were in the comic. Yeah.
Correct. And then, of course, that makes his loss more tragic. But, we were talking about last week how it's made it really impossible for Rick to develop that kind of relationship with anybody else since he's got it with Daryl. So if they take Daryl out of the equation but don't kill him, they can still have him. I think financially, like you've said many times, he's just too important to the show in terms of the fan base, so this might be the way they get around that.
It's a good theory, yeah, because you're not going to kill him off, so yeah.
But my theory is very, very rare to fruition, so
we'll see.
So we shall see.
All right.
We got to get to the letters.
All right. So I got Gary Dombrowski, who I think, Gary, you and Abby need to see who can write a longer missive next time, because you also went for ebook form here. But it's great. We love it. Gary gave it 4 1/4 headshots, said it was a great episode with interesting character studies. There's a lot here, so I'm just going to read through this really quick. Mentions Jessie. She assures Rick that she can take care of herself. A potential badass flying under the radar, perhaps. You know what? I had read this before, and I totally had skipped over this, or it didn't register with me. Daryl, you can take the man. This is what Gary said. Daryl, you can take the man out of the woods, but you can't take the woods out of the man. I love the possum kill before going into Alexandria. I love the interview complete with dead possum in hand. Maybe he's going to make it up into one of Granny's famous possum pies. I wonder if Deanna will consider exiling Daryl for not fitting in, which he does not appear to be doing thus far.
Yeah.
So either
That
you're
ties
copying
in.
off of Gary's sheet, or you guys are kind of simpatico here. He wonders. Gary says, "I wonder if Enid was the one who found the pistol that Rick stashed in a blender." Carl, he's a little freaked out by the whole experience and tells Rick they're weak, though he does seem to have an eye for Enid, who doesn't like him. Let's see. On a side note, after he talked about Aiden, Tara did a great job of skinning the back of the walker that was formerly in the tree. Glenn, awesome job knocking Aiden on his ass. I loved it when Glenn responded to Aiden's remark, they're not ready for runs yet, by saying, I'm sure it's the other way around. I think Deanna needs to consider making runs as Glenn and or Daryl's job.
Yeah.
Rick, he's the constable of Alexandria along with Michonne. I also like that he is vetting the people of Alexandria himself. If they can't cut it, Rick and group will take over Alexandria for themselves. Stepford Carol, I loved her video that she loved having dinner ready for Ed when he came home. Didn't she also say she missed him? Is there a junior league in Alexandria? I wonder if Deanna bought her act. Was it not classic when she was turning in her weapons? You would swear she didn't know what end of her rifle the bullets came out of.
That's true.
Alexandria, what's with the walls of Alexandria? The supports for the walls appear to be on the outside. He says, I thought Aaron said the walls were 15 feet thick. I thought he said they were 15 feet
15
tall.
feet tall. Yeah, I think.
Another thing, like we said, where are all the people? We've only seen the 10 to 12 people total. What's with confiscating weapons? I can understand keeping them during the audition period, but why not give them back after it's over? I'd hate to be waiting in line to get my weapon if the walls were breached by walkers or other people. Is this all there is to Alexandria, or is this just the part of town used for auditions? It's a good question. I mean,
Yeah,
like we said,
I think I chalked that all up. That whole thing about the kids at the front and the noises and the lack of people. I just think it was just bad writing or directing or whatever. I don't.
oversight.
Yeah, or maybe it was edited. They shoot probably 2-3 hours worth of stuff, and then they have to get it down to 40 some odd minutes, 43 minutes. So, but yeah, I think it just. I think when they were producing it, they had that the end shot, the voices, the laughing kids, and they probably didn't think about how important it was going to be from a continuity. There was probably weeks or many weeks in between shooting those 2 episodes and everything else.
Yeah.
That's how I chalk it up.
I got another one from Leslie.
Oh, hold on. I got Ward. I'm going to read Ward and Leslie's. Ward Ahmad. Rick went dark in the last scene. Remember, I love how it becomes harder to tell whether our guys are still the heroes of this show or if they are becoming the villains themselves. The fine line between good and evil are getting more and more vague as the show progresses towards the season finale. I love that. Never saw it coming. Yeah, I don't think they play around with the whole gray line of good and evil, but to me, it's not so much anymore that as much as it is, what does it take to be good now? I mean, yeah.
What do you to what limits?
What do you got to do?
What extent do you do for survival? Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Leslie Cox wrote, yet again, I love this episode. I don't always, in case you're wondering. I give it 4.8 headshots. Thought it gave us
That's
great.
Damn near perfect.
That is damn near perfect. I thought it gave us some interesting character studies so that we could see different individuals react. I agree with her, and that's because of that whole video, sex, lies, and videotape setup. But the one thing I forgot to mention in my frustration about that, why didn't they have everybody?
Right.
I mean, granted, you've only got, but they should have, and they're not going to carry that on. I don't think you're going to see more videotaping next week.
Oh God, no, you can't.
No, I don't think so. I think it was just to fit this. So, but we didn't get Abraham. We didn't get Tara. We didn't get And where the hell is Abraham? Not Abraham. The minister. Where's the priest?
Oh yeah.
You haven't seen him for two weeks. So I don't know. Rosita, we didn't get. Eugene. Um, Let's see. I'm still not sure what's going to happen or whether Alexander is a good place or not. It could be, but some of the resident characters are giving me pause for thought, in particular Aiden and Enid. Aiden is obviously an idiot. An idiot in a position of power is never a good combination. Amen. I didn't like the zombie torturing they were indulging in because, apart from anything else, it shows how unfitted they are for the world they now live in. Totally agree. That kind of behavior gets you or someone else killed. I don't know what to think about Enid either. She obviously is up to something. She wants to keep secret. She was the person who appeared in the house outside the gates with Carl saw, and I also think she has Rick's gun. I noticed that in the room the kids were using as a kind of den, that on the back of the comic book, Carl picks up the word wolf or wolves was shown prominently, foreshadowing that Enid is in touch with that group maybe. Maybe a raid is being planned with Enid on the inside. Her good was Carol. Lovely bit of play acting, keeping herself under the radar, which would make her very useful if the rest of the group get into trouble. Bad was obviously Aiden. He's going to cause trouble for the group. Ugly, poor Daryl. I don't know what's going to happen to him. He obviously doesn't fit in, and we know what Deanna does in those circumstances. She exiles them. So trouble is Rick and the rest of the group won't stay if he doesn't, which leaves a troubling idea. That's why I think he's going to probably either leave voluntarily or be forced to because of some situation. I don't think they'll exile him because I don't think Rick would stand for that. Trouble is Rick and the blah, 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 blah. Maybe they'll arrange an accident while he's outside. I'm really worried about that. I don't think that's going to happen. Character of the week was Rick, and that's because in the shower.
No.
All right. You got Thomas? Thomas Reese?
No, you do.
Oh, I do? Okay. Thomas gave 3.75 headshots. Solid episode. You have to love a fish out of water story. Considering all the references to watches and clocks, I'm surprised nobody died. Again, I love the change in pace of the show. What's the deal with that comic Carl found, Wolf Fighters, which belongs to Enid? Was that a nod to the W Walkers and Wolves are close? Graffiti from Noah's community? Is Enid a spy for that group? Is that where she snuck off to? She's definitely, she's going somewhere. You know what I mean?
Just as a pause for a second. So when you see wolf, it said wolf fight with a exclamation point. That's actually the back of the comic that was an ad. So I don't know if that was I'm pretty sure that was Invincible Wolfman, which is a Kirkman comic. So I don't know if that's the actual ad that's on that comic. But anyway, just to kind of clear that up.
Yep. Did she steal Rick's gun? I don't trust her. Hopefully Carl gets a little play before he has to put her down. That's cold. The opening was awesome. From Daryl bringing dinner to Sasha nonchalantly taking down the walker was great, and I loved how Daryl was cleaning the possum on the porch. Rick's beard scene was cool, and the shot with Rick and Michonne talking by the window was pretty amazing. Hats off to the DP. The silhouette of Rick's face in the moonlight was badass. Oh, Michonne wants Rick bad. I could definitely see them as a DC power couple in the near future. Rick's final words were ruthless. If they can't make it, we'll just take it from them. His bad was, I understand Deanna's comment regarding the evacuation, but there's no way this group or community would still be intact. Those walls didn't look that tough. It's been years, and these people still seem untouched by the epidemic. I agree. Too unrealistic. I don't like how the episode only focused on a few characters. I totally agree. I felt that way for the last couple. It felt like half of the group was reduced to extras. The story was spread too thin. The ugly, Carol Brady, head of the PTA. I love how she's playing it so coy and low key. I'm taking this as a good ugly. She's one of the most dangerous of the group, and she's just fading into the backdrop, waiting to stab somebody in their sleep and burn them in the street. Amazing character of the week, Carol. Yep. Zombie kill of the week, skin off my back zombie. Good letter. Good job, Thomas. I think that's it for letters, right?
Yep, that's all I got. All right.
Well, listen, thank you guys for writing in. Keep posting on the Facebook site. We love hearing from you guys. Some great observations and ideas put in there. You can reach us also if you want by email at biterspodcast@gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter at Biters Podcast. Also, Jeff is at J Marzik, and I'm at Batman KM. And I try to live tweet on the show. So if you want to join in on that, maybe get your tweet in the tweet of the week. Let's see what else. I'm working on the next tribute. I'm even further behind this week than I was last week.
Oh, jeez. Well, that one that you did last week was fantastic. So
yeah, everybody's
cool.
that seemed to hit a chord. So I'm gonna stick with a theme and try and do something similar with a different comic book company. I'm gonna go after a Marvel horror comic kind of look.
Anything that just as long as it doesn't bring a lawsuit.
Yeah, I know, right? Amen.
All right, everybody. Well, thank you very much for listening to us. Be sure to tell your friends about us and rate us on iTunes and wherever else you download us. And we will talk to you next week about the next episode, which is Forget. So enjoy the rest of your week.
Don't forget to come back.
Yeah.
All right, we'll see you next week, everybody.